Am I already getting on here again to talk about precious metals? Saxo Bank CIO, credit cycle has peaked. Gold will be best performing commodity. Forget the 1930s. Inflation is different this time. Real rates are finally coming off in the U.S. More and more pundits see inflation ticking higher, a summer of European growth, and hell afterwards. ECB's balance sheet as percent of GDP title, little has changed despite QE, quantitative easing, and the credit cycle has clearly peaked. Thanks to Zero Hedge. The overall position. Our major allocation shift is working on fixed income, but commodities and gold still need the all clear regarding a Fed hike. Here's a reminder of the main points of my major strategy change as detailed in an article May 18th. He says the headlines for the next 6 to 7 months will say U.S., German, and EU core government bonds will be 100 basis points higher and in quarter four, higher by and in quarter four, before making its final new low in H1 2016. U.S. 10 years will trade above 3% and bonds, as in bonds, above 1.25%. Crude will hit $78 a barrel, setting up excellent energy returns. U.S. dollar will weaken before retest of lows, then we'll start multi-year weakness. Gold will be the best performer in a commodity-led rally. His opinion, we will see $1,425 and $35, which I'm assuming is for silver, by year end. What else we got? What do we have really is another story about precious metals once again. You know, I can't wait for the day when all we hear, you know, all this time about precious metals, you guys wasted your money and prices were up, then they went down. There's a bunch of you sitting on prices that are a little bit higher, or when they were higher, now they're lower, so you've been sitting on that, it's been bothering you. And that day is going to come where we finally say, oh, you see what happened today, everyone? Maybe on Facebook or whatever. And you're going to say this, right there, what you just heard today on the news, is why I've been telling everybody for the past X number of years or time or whatever, how long have you may have been telling people, of why you should have been buying gold and silver. Either one. This right here is that news story. And by the way, as I said this would ultimately happen, here it is. It's not getting any better. There's more to come. So even as I write this, and precious metals prices are going up, you still have an opportunity to get them now before they really go up. And you know, people will probably reply and say, yeah, but they went up before and then they came back down. So I think yeah, I probably should get some, but I think I'm going to wait for them to come back down this again. You know, did it last time, and you know, in 2011 it went up and then it came down and kind of just stayed down here now. Okay. If that's your strategy, I'm going to wish you lots and lots of luck. Now I'm going to tell you about a brief conversation I had with Cliff High, owner of the Webbot. And it might be time that I get one of the latest reports and do a little Webbot update on that. Speaking of that. And he says, you know, I've been thinking about something basically. And he sent me a link to a video of an interview the guy was doing outside. And he was talking about like when the Weimar Republic, you know, went through its hyperinflationary period, what happened to gold as well as silver. And while both gold and silver, of course, in Weimar dollars went crazy high, but even then, silver, I think he said there was still a ratio of like 100 and, I don't remember the exact number, 100 and something to 1. So it took 100 and something ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. So using that example today, gold would be the clear winner and not silver. However, we're talking today, things are different. So he says, you know, I think ultimately my strategy's changed a little bit, and what I think I'm going to do is when we start to see this rise in silver, you know, both are going to go up, but in silver in particular, when we start to see the ratio of gold to silver coming down, which we know is going to happen. It's currently around 68, I think, to 1. So 68 ounces of silver buys 1 ounce of gold right now. But that ratio is ultimately coming down. So let's just say it comes down to approximately, you know, 30 to 1. That means, put it this way, anytime that ratio goes down, silver's automatically winning against gold. Because they both started off at, let's say right now, 68 to 1. So if you had a certain amount of money you put into gold and that same exact amount you put into silver, and then that ratio starts coming down, you know, 60 to 1, 55 to 1, 50 to 1, you're making more money with your silver than you are gold because the ratio alone is doing it for you, coming down like that. So with all the years of Webbot data saying that that's absolutely going to happen, that was one of the reasons I decided to, hey, let me stick with silver on this one, because I have a feeling silver's going to be where the big moves are. You know, so when I had some gold, sold it, went and turned around and bought silver with it. So I'm pretty much 100% in silver. I mean, I'm 100% in silver. So he says, you know, I think what I'm going to do is when that ratio comes way down with gold, you know, the silver to gold ratio, I'm going to sell my silver. He's not sure exactly when, but what ratio point, but when it gets way down there, like crazy numbers low, you know, to ratio from gold to silver, or silver to gold, and I don't know if it's, you know, 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 15 to 1, what his strategy is, because there's definitely data that supports silver going way down with gold. And there's even briefly, I remember a couple times, his report was showing that it could touch basically parity with gold, 1 to 1, very briefly. Like, it just crazy, freakishness happens someday for some reason, and then it just goes crazy, and then it settles down and goes back up to 15 to 1, or, you know, wherever it ends up settling. Anyways, he says, you know, I think I want to try to capitalize on that, and when it gets to those low ratio numbers, somewhere around there, sell my silver, take those, you know, big profits at that point, and then turn it into gold. Maybe not all of it, but some of it, a lot of it, that's up to him. Turn it into gold, and then sit on that. Because he felt like, ultimately, after all the craziness in the precious metals market, which are going to drive both metals way up, gold's going to ultimately be, at the very end of this thing, potentially the winner in that respect. Because once people deal with the crazy rising in silver prices, which also means the ratio's coming way down to silver to gold ratio, not only are you going to make a ton of money on silver for that reason alone, but if you can catch it at the right moment, and you could probably be off, I'm sure, again, if it's 20 to 1, 15 to 1, 10 to 1, anywhere in there, and then ultimately settle somewhere else later on, even though the prices have risen drastically, you can't really lose. But he thinks that if he catches that at the right spot, making, you know, somewhere near the best profit he can with silver, and then convert, again, some or all of that profit into gold, and then lets it sit there, gold will be ultimately more stable later on, and potentially, I don't know if he thought it was safer. He didn't really say if it was safer, or just he could make more money out of it later on by switching his silver into gold, is what he was thinking. So I thought about that, and I'm like, I'm not selling my silver at all. I'm just gonna ride that horse, and when I see that it hits what I feel is my peak, whatever point, I'm just gonna sell it. I'm not gonna convert it into gold. I just was gonna sell it and say, okay, I got in, you know, buy low and sell high, right? I mean, if it's $200-300 an ounce or more, let's say 300, and I sell at 300, and then everything calms back down, and you know, silver's 100 or 150 an ounce. Well, I already got out at 300 anyways, so I'm happy. In his scenario, he will have gotten out at say 300, and then purchased some gold, or all of his money went to gold at that point at 300, and then gold may rise a little bit more later as it becomes a little more stable, so he'll make even a little bit more money. I think that's where he was trying, you know, what he's pretty much told me. So I replied, I'm like, yeah, I said, yeah, with all of the years of Webbot data report of silver going, you know, way high and going crazy, I said, I can't, there's no way I'm going to try that tactic. I'm just staying with silver. And then, you know, he replied again, basically, to kind of reiterate. He's like, yeah, it's not that I want to switch, like I'm getting out of silver because I think gold's going to be better or whatever. It's simply, silver's going to do very well, and if I can catch it at the right moment, and then sell it, and then turn that into gold, as everything calms back down and gold starts to maybe slowly rise a little bit more or whatever, I'll have that too. So it's kind of like, you know, it's almost like a two-layer profit system that he's trying to capitalize on, if you will, in a sense. So I thought that was an interesting little email, and I thought about that, but I was like, you know what, my immediate instinct was nah, and it is today too. This was the last 2 days of conversations, and I said, nah, I'm stuck, and I'm staying with silver, man. I'm stuck on it. I am stuck on silver, 'cause silver's stuck on me. Yes, I did just say that. If you can't go wrong in either case, you can't go wrong. As I've always said, you will be real happy with the way precious metals perform. You're going to be real happy if you went all in with gold. But you're going to be real happy with silver. But at the same time, you got to be smart with it. You could be real happy and see that prices in gold and silver just skyrocketing, and then noticing, wow, silver is actually gaining on a, you know, percentage-wise on gold. The ratio used to be 60-something, now it's 50, 40, 30. Oh my God, it's 25 to 1 now. They never haven't seen numbers like this in, you know, 100 years, and oh my God. But are you going to sit there and just watch that and comment on it, or are you going to say, okay, I'm getting ready to sell and capitalize on it? Because if it goes crazy, and while it's going crazy, the ratio goes down, which is great, and you still just sit there and wait on it, and then, oh, it was 15 to 1 at one time, man, damn, it's back up to 25 to 1, up to 30 to 1, still immense profits for you, but you're going to say, as we all do, I wish I would have sold at the best opportunity, which was 15 to 1 or whatever, etc. So what Cliff is saying is, when I see these numbers that I'm happy with, I'm going to go ahead and sell it, because while silver goes back to some type of ratio with gold, it's when it was crazy good for us is when I was getting out of silver, and when it went back to normal, so to speak, which isn't going to be 60 or 70 to 1, I don't think. Normal might be 20 or 30 to 1 or something. He will already have been out of it, took that money, put it into gold at the exact same moment, and then as silver went back to some kind of calm level, so to speak, his gold was already at that level. It may go up a little bit or not, but the fact that he converted silver when it was, say, 15 to 1 to gold, and then now silver's back to 30 to 1, automatically means his gold's worth more. It's the flip-flop. So right now we're 68 to 1 with silver into gold. Silver goes down to 30 to 1, 15 to 1. You automatically, if nothing else happens, prices don't change other than that ratio, you just made a huge profit on your silver right now. And then if you were to take that profit and knowing, okay, the ratio is going to go back up again, right now it's time to sell my silver. Well, again, if you just sold it and sat on it, you did make your good profit. You're doing good. But if you turned it into gold and then sat on the gold, and then silver went back up to some normalized ratio, you just stored that wealth very well in that gold. Because now your silver's worth less as the ratio went back up, even though it's still phenomenally well. And you have this nest egg of gold, which isn't going to really move anywhere, but maybe more up slowly and more gracefully. I don't know. Just because gold's what the big boys are going to be holding. But again, you got to remember something too, some of the Webbot report talked about. Gold was going to be out of reach. The price of gold will be so high, it will be out of reach for the average person during this crisis when it comes. And you know we're close. So, silver is as it's always been called, the poor man's gold. And will be such a title coming soon. If you can't afford gold, and you know I need precious metals, but I can't afford that one, what's the second best one? Oh, duh, it's silver. Which is going to cause a whole lot of people to go rush into silver. Why is the United States importing massive amounts of silver right now? Why? Because when such an event occurs, they better have the silver to be giving out to the citizens or whoever the hell wants it. Because the last thing they want is a shortage, physical shortage, that's like nothing we've ever seen before. Because what happens when there's a shortage? Prices skyrocket. People will start going crazy about it. Oh my God. It's going to cause the prices to go even higher. So they need to now get a bunch of silver in stock. Guys, we need to start collecting it now. And we didn't want to do this before because then all the silver bugs and gold bugs would be seeing us doing this and commenting way in advance. We don't want that either. But now we're getting close to go time. It's almost show time. Start amassing the silver now, quickly. So that in the next few months or whenever this happens, right? We already got our little hoard. And we can easily sell it to the mint. Mint, you can make your silver eagles and all these other coin mints that are out there that are going to mint these silver coins, whatever. We've got plenty in stock for you guys. So even as prices rise, at least there's not a shortage that causes a frenzy. However, does the government really know what kind of frenzy could really be expected? I think the answer is no, they don't. Which is why I think all the long ago Webbot stuff that was in the data forever is going to be right. And no matter what they try, it isn't going to matter. Prices are going to skyrocket. It'll be out of control. You will see hundreds of dollars an ounce during the peak craziness, whatever, for silver. And at that point, that's when you're going to have to decide, it's $300 an ounce now. I know the Webbot talked about $500 and $600 and but should I sell now? They came down another $20. It's $300 an ounce, $280. Was $300 the peak? Right, you're going to have to answer that question. You're going to have to say, okay, the highest you possibly could have been in the silver was in the 40s. If you bought it to absolute high in 2011. It's now worth $300. Minus that 40, 50, let's call it $50. That brings me down to $250. $250 in profit. Take away the $50, right? So you're $250 in profit per ounce. You're going to say for 200, 300, 400, 500, 1,000 ounces, whatever you got, times $250. If you bought all of that at $50, which most of you didn't, you bought it at 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, whatever, wherever you've been, myself included. And it's not going to matter. You're going to say, I don't care what I paid for it because there's nothing like this. The question is, do I wait to see if it goes to 400 or 500? Because I know the Webbot talked about that, right? You're going to have to decide. And you're also going to have to decide, am I going to do what Cliff High's going to do? Am I going to try to find that sweet spot and gold to silver ratio and sell it at that point, turn it into gold, sit on the gold for a little while, gold prices start to normalize and rise a little bit slowly more than they already are, then sell off completely. These are all decisions that I nor Cliff High can make for you. Because I'm not even going to do what he's doing. I don't plan on selling my silver for gold. The only way I could see doing something like that honestly, would be, again, we're in the United States, so US dollar, we use it internally, of course, too, has taken a massive beating. Inflation is terrible. I mean, stuff is so expensive, it's like nuts. It's crazy. And as the weeks go by, the dollar just keeps getting worse and worse, devalued worse and worse. At that point, you have to say, well, I know I buy stuff, right, in America with dollars. Do I want to sell it for a huge profit right now, my silver, knowing that in 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, I've sold that silver, took the cash, and in 3 or 4 weeks now, the cash is worth less than it was even a month ago. What am I going to do with the cash? Well, number one, I said in the beginning, if you own a house, car, boat, whatever the hell you own that you owe on, it's still in US dollars. So it doesn't matter how devalued they get, you still owe that same amount. So you got a $300,000 house, it's $300,000 US dollars no matter how devalued they became. So at any time, you can come up with that cash, and your silver's worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars, let's say. You could easily sell that at any point and then just pay off the house. So at that point you can say, well, my job's done. I feel good about that now. I don't have any debt. But I got a devaluing dollar I got to worry about, but so does the rest of my entire country. So the government's going to have to do something about that. At least your debt's paid off, right? So that's one thing you can do with it. If you decide maybe during this process, oh my God, I paid off my house, I paid off my car, paid all the stuff off, and I still got a bunch of silver left that's worth a lot of money, what do I do? That's up to you. Do you want to sit on the silver some more and just sit on it? You could. It's probably better than selling it and sitting on the dollar at that point. Or you could do what Cliff I's doing. It would make sense at that point. Hey, sell my silver now. I've already paid off my debt. Everything's good. This is like bonus silver I got sitting here. I'll convert that into gold and just sit on the gold. And then pretend I never had this. Because that's what you got to do in your mind. I've never have this. This is not sitting in my safe. I don't own this stuff until the day you need it. And then the day you need it, you deal with it. And then you go right back into that mode of, I don't have it again, even if you have some. I gotta go to work, I gotta do all these things just like everybody else and experience this without knowing that I've got this gold and silver sitting here. Because it's easy to not do anything, or I got plenty of gold and silver right now, I don't have to go worry about a job, or you gotta pretend you don't have that. That's like your survival nest egg, so to speak. But you may take it once you've paid off your debt and say, look, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the rest of the silver, or some of the silver, half of your silver, convert it into gold. Maybe gold was a little more stable the whole time without crazy price ups and downs, let's say. And you choose to do that. Okay, I got half silver, now I got half of that money turned into gold. Or I just sold half my silver for cash. The other half, sold it for cash, turned that cash into gold. So I've got half that cash literally in cash, the other half in gold, to do whatever you want with. Maybe you decide, I can tell people need a place to live, and rental prices, which may have been destroyed during this process, are still something, and I'd rather get some income coming in than nothing. So I think I'm going to buy a property or two with this cash, all of it, instead of the gold or the silver. You've sold it completely, and you bought some rental property or something like that, or just some other asset. But again, during a crisis like this, I don't know that I'd want to be someone who's renting to somebody else. Because if people start struggling en masse, which is what will happen, you're not getting your rent money. It's not going to happen. There's going to be a whole lot of renters out there, people that have rental properties that are not collecting money. And God help you if you owe a mortgage or any payment on that house or apartment or whatever you're renting to somebody else. Because now you've probably got your own house mortgage somewhere you're living in, plus rental property mortgage that you've successfully rented all this time until this big problem happened. So you're going to have to look at some things out there to say, should I take my money and put it into that, And you may see, well, you know what, it actually is, even though we're having this crisis, for some reason or another, rental properties, it's still somewhat stable. Don't know how, but maybe it is. And you decide, I'll take my money and buy a little piece of property or something just to get that residual money coming in. And of course with that, you got to keep in mind comes the quote-unquote renter. Hey, you knocked a hole in my wall. Hey, you destroyed my refrigerator. Hey, the carpet's destroyed. Hey, you got animals in here. I told you couldn't have animals in here. They pissed all over the carpet. You haven't paid me in 3 months. yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave now. And then you're left with cleaning up, putting all new carpet in there, cleaning the whole place up. Don't know if renting a property is going to be the best decision with this. But again, this is all, I can't make a decision for you anyways. My whole point all these years was simply, how does a person protect themselves, if any wealth that they have, now get prepared for this event so that when it happens, you can maybe experience it, but not to the level everyone else is experiencing it, where as far as the pain and suffering goes financially. How can I deal with this and say, you know what, this little investment turned into a huge investment later on and helped me during the crisis of a lifetime in American history? That's all my point was. But realizing during this process, I think it's going to do better, precious metals, than just a little nest egg to keep you safe. I think when this all goes down, it's going to make you a small fortune. Depending on how much you have, maybe a large fortune. Remains to be seen, but I'm not moving off my silver. Take care.